Today I'm going to be redrawing some of my old art to see just how much I've improved since then. Or if I've improved. Hopefully I've improved. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well. What'd you think of my new little intro thing? I'm assuming this is the first video that that's gonna be in, otherwise I'm about to look real stupid. I have a series, as you may or may not know, where I look at my old art. Pretty much every single video I make looking at my old art, I'm guaranteed to get a dozen comments asking if I can redraw some of my old pieces, and I love redrawing old art, so I thought that this would be a really fun series to include on my channel. I also asked you guys if you wanted me to look at all of my old art and then start this series, or if you wanted me to make this series kind of coinciding with those videos, and a lot of you guys wanted me to make them coinciding, so here we go. The first two old art videos that I made was looking at drawings that I made on loose sheets of paper, and so I picked 3 pieces from those 2 videos combined to redraw in this video. The next redrawing old art video I'm going to be making are pieces from my unfinished sketchbooks, and then the third one will be from my first sketchbook, and then I will continue my looking at my old art series. So I hope that that's okay with all of you. If not, then sorry, I guess. The first one I drew when I was about 12. The second one around the same age, maybe a bit older, like 13, 14. And then the third one is when I was about 16, which is, fun fact, actually my first Instagram post that's still up on my Instagram. I'm rambling again, so let's just get started. So for all 3 of these pieces, I ended up picking fan art. That was a complete coincidence, though. I didn't intend on making them all fan art. These were just the ones that I remember being most proud of. And the first one is Hattori and Momiji from Fruits Basket. I still have a love for Fruits Basket, as I'm sure many of you know, because of the reboot. I'm in love with it. I can highly recommend it, but I've also been in love with the original since I was about 12 or 11. And because of my deep love for Fruits Basket and my long-lasting love for Fruits Basket, I thought that I just had to draw this one again. I drew a lot of Fruits Basket, and so I figured this would really make past me happy. And these are 2 of my favorite characters. I've always liked them from day one, but looking at it now, there's definitely some improvement that can be made. I think the main thing is Hattori. I can't remember how old he is, but he's like mid to late 20s. He definitely does not look like that in this drawing, so that was one thing that I wanted to improve on. Honestly, even in my redraw, I still don't think he looks quite that old, but he at least looks like an adult in my new one, so that's a success, I think. For each of these redraws, I wanted them to have a similar style to the original one, so for this one, I'm having just a line art drawing, and then the second one is in grayscale, and then the third one is a finished illustration. I thought that this was a really great illustration to start with, because it would kind of ease me into it because it was the most simple out of all of them, mostly just because it is a line art drawing. I started sketching it and then I completely had to resketch it because I was drawing Hattori too high on the page. But after that, there was really no difficulty at all. Like I said before, I've drawn a lot of Fruits Basket in my life, so I have a lot of experience drawing these characters, but I still had a lot of fun doing it. Another thing that I wanted to do was to keep the outfits similar to the original one. They were just outfits that I made myself because I guess I've always liked doing that, and they're supposed to be in kind of a wintry theme, so I did that. It was really weird drawing this though because I drew it on a really hot day. That was fun. I don't remember why I decided to draw them like this, although to be fair, I don't know why I drew most of what I used to draw. I wanted to give them a little bit of a redesign though, because obviously there wasn't I wasn't the strongest with character design when I was 12, so I really wanted to redraw that one. Mostly with Momiji's outfit because I think I fell into the same trap that a lot of young artists fall into, which is just unnecessary layers and unnecessary elements to try and make a drawing look detailed. Now that I'm older and I have more experience drawing, I've found other ways to make my art look more detailed without being so extra and not necessary at all. So that was something that I really wanted to show in this redraw. Also, a side note, I meant to draw Momiji wearing mittens, and then I went into the liner phase and started drawing a hand because I forgot to draw one of the hands as a mitten, so he has gloves now. That was my bad. There wasn't really any difference in Hattori's outfit though, because it's pretty much the same in his original one because his jacket and everything was very simple. Another really big change that I wanted to make was the poses. I wanted it to really, 1, capture their personalities a little bit more, and then 2 feel a little bit more natural. So Hattori was kind of just standing up straight, and then Momiji was sitting on top of him, which doesn't really, things don't normally work that way. And so in the redraw, I hunched Hattori over just a little bit and had him grab Momiji's legs just to give him a little bit more support when he's sitting on his shoulders. And then Momiji, his personality was really easy to capture because I draw characters like him quite a lot. I just wanted to make him seem a little bit more lively, so I changed up his expression and the arms. Giving Hattori some expression was a little bit difficult because I really wanted to show expressions because I feel like I draw really expressive faces now, but Hattori, if you know him as a character, he isn't one to express a lot, so I did change up his expression a little bit, but even in this redraw, he's still fairly stoic, I think. In the original, I believe I used a Sharpie pen. I don't use Sharpie pens anymore. I can recommend them if you're a beginner artists, you're multiple people now. If you're a beginner artist wanting to get into line art, I can recommend that. They're definitely not the highest quality. They don't work really well with other materials, but if you're a young artist just wanting to practice line art, I think that this is a great starting point before you're able to buy liners. That's definitely what I did, but in this redraw, I used my Copic multi-liners. Those are the liners that you'll see me using throughout the video. I love them. They're definitely more on the pricey end, but I'm in love with Copic products. I'm sorry. I definitely think that I improved a lot. Let me know what you guys think. I think past me would be proud with all of my endless piles of Fruits Basket fan art. I think past me would definitely really be happy with this improvement. For this second piece, I knew immediately that I wanted to redraw it. Even before I decided to do this series, I was thinking of just redrawing it on my own because I remember being so proud of this one when I first made it. This is Maka Albarn from the anime Soul Eater. I really loved Soul Eater for a hot minute. I rewatched it recently. It's still fairly good, but I really wanted to redraw this one just because I remember showing it to everybody and being like, look how awesome this is, I'm so proud of it, look at it, and people probably saw it and were like, are you okay? It definitely captures that creepiness that Soul Eater could have, but I feel like I could still improve on it a little bit more. The first thing I definitely wanted to improve on was the pose. When I was first drawing this forever ago, I did want it to be more of like a stiff, unnatural looking pose. Even now I think I can improve a bit on that though, so I brought the legs in a little bit more. I changed up the angle slightly, and then I changed the way that Maka was holding her scythe. I decided to leave out the black blood in this one, because I didn't feel like drawing it, and 2, I wasn't sure how I could make it look because this was going to be grayscale. I wasn't sure if it would be like too much. If I was coloring this illustration, I feel like I definitely would have included the black blood, but I decided to leave it out for this one. I tried to shade a little bit in the original. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but I wanted to show that I improved on shading. The shading is definitely very subtle in the original one, so I really wanted to focus on that in this redraw. In the original, I just used a pencil. Like, I used the Sharpie pen for outlining again, and then I made the different tones in pencil. I did not do that this time. I used my Copic markers because I don't use pencils anymore. I fell out of love with pencils. I don't really use pencils. The only time I sketch in pencil even is if I'm planning on outlining it and erasing the pencil later. I like colored pencils, but I don't like graphite anymore. I feel like it would be more true to the redraw if I had used a pencil, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Also for this piece, unlike the other ones, I did a little bit of a thumbnail. I feel like out of all 3 of these redraws, this is the one that changed the most from the original, and since the pose was a lot more complicated and there was a lot more that I felt needed changing, I decided to just thumbnail some things on a post-it note before filming. And I also go back to those post-it notes to practice the facial expression. So for people who don't know Soul Eater, I'm sorry, but that one part where she goes insane and she's fighting Krona, that was what this drawing was supposed to be about, like for the original one, and I was trying to draw that here, but those types of facial expressions are just so different from what I normally draw. I never draw stuff like this, so that was definitely a challenge. You can see me redrawing it a couple of times on the paper itself, but then I decided I was erasing the paper too much and I was afraid of damaging it, so I just decided to sketch on a separate post-it note to really figure out the facial expression a little bit more, and in the end I think it looks okay. I think I could definitely work on that a little bit more, but considering I don't draw those things and I'm not really experienced with them, I quite like it. I think it's nice. Overall with this one, I really wanted to capture the sort of vibe I was going for, but didn't really have the skills to do back then, so I definitely tried that out a lot. And after the sketching and the line art, it was really easy. I just had to slap some shading on there. The hardest part about the coloring really was just deciding what tones to put where, because since it was strictly grayscale, I didn't want the tones to mesh in too much together. So that was a little bit of a challenge, but overall not too difficult. I had a lot of fun revisiting this drawing and this anime in general, because I still love Fruits Basket, and the next anime you'll see, well, you already saw the drawing, but I still love that anime, but Soul Eater is one that I kind of fell out of love with for a little while, and it was really fun to just go back to that little part of me that loves it. I had a lot of fun drawing her trench coat in the back. It's a little bit different from the one that I drew in the original, because the one in the original, it's a lot more geometrical, I would say. It's a lot more like sharp and angular, and this one's definitely more flowy. And for the vibe of this one, it's more of just like the edge of her trench coat got ripped and it's like flowing and stuff. I can't remember how they did it in the anime, but this is something similar to what they did then. Also, because I just copied Maka's outfit exactly, I didn't have to look up a reference. I just drew the outfit from my original drawing because I knew that I was referencing Maka's outfit then. So there we go. There's Maka. She was a lot of fun to draw again. I kind of missed her, honestly. I didn't realize how much I missed her until I was drawing this one, but I'm really happy with it, even though I ran out of room for the end of her scythe, but we can ignore that. The last drawing that I have for you is a drawing of Lucy Heartfilia from Fairy Tail. My love. I've actually redrawn this one once before. I didn't include it in the initial clips of me showing the art, but then I have it later on after this one, so you can see the second iteration of this drawing, and then the third one, which is the one that I am drawing. Like I said, this was the first Instagram post that I ever made back in 2016, 2017. Can't quite remember, but it's been a hot minute. For this redraw, I only looked at that first post. I didn't look at the second drawing that I made. I believe the second drawing I made was 1 year after the original drawing, and then I skipped a year. And then this one is 2 years later from the second iteration, so I guess 3 years later from the first one. Anyways, the original one was drawn on a poster board that was from the dollar store. And for this redraw, I drew it on a piece of cardstock. I traced the size of the original one, but fun fact, I didn't cut the lines straight, so the edges are a little wobbly. But for this one, I used my paper cutter. I think looking at all three of these side by side, which you'll see when I'm finished with this, it's really interesting because from this first original drawing, my art style has changed a lot. But then, as you'll see later from the second iteration, I really like how my style hasn't really changed, but I've just improved with my art. Like, to me at least, when you look at the second version and this third version that I'm making, it still looks like they're drawn by the same person, but you can just see the improvement, and I really like that. There wasn't a whole lot that I wanted to change about this drawing. The drawing itself is fairly simple, I guess, in terms of pose and composition, so I didn't feel the need to change them a little bit. I think I tilted her head a little bit more, and I also forgot to draw her arm pieces, but other than that, there wasn't really much that I changed. I did lower the number of flowers. I don't know, I just felt like it was a lot. I changed them to just being roses and this generic looking blue flower, and then the baby's breath. In the original, there's just a lot of flowers going on and there's a lot of colors going on. I made the blue flowers a little bit darker to contrast with her outfit more, and then I made the roses more of a red color. For the leaves, I didn't make them a green, I made them a little bit more of a blue-green. Again, just to tie in with the color scheme a little bit more and make it closer to the blue of her outfit, and then have the roses stand out a little bit more because they're just this bright red. I also believe I changed the colors a little bit more. In the original, I used colored pencils. We've been over my pencil situation. I don't like coloring with colored pencils. I mostly just use them for sketching, but Copics are my go-to coloring thing now, so I decided to draw them with Copics. In the second version, I did use Copics, so it's fine. I didn't cheat at all. What are you talking about? From the second version and the third version, even though they both have Copics, I believe I did change up the coloring a little bit. That's partially because of the way that I colored has changed, but I also have more Copics now and I have a variety of things to choose from. The colors are still pretty similar and you can still tell that they're Lucy's colors, but I just changed them up a little bit to adjust to the way that I color now. The way that I color things nowadays, I feel like has a lot more depth to them. For the second version and the first version, the shading was a lot more simple. I believe it's cell shading, that's what it's called, but for this one, I have a lot more different techniques for shading. I blend things out a little bit more. I still have some cell shading. I also use different colors when I'm shading different things, and then I go over top at the end with colored pencils in some places just to add a little bit more visual interest. I don't know if that's the right word. I do remember when I was drawing this one, I had a pretty hard time drawing her hair. Not necessarily because the hair itself I didn't think looked good, but because the way that Lucy's hair is styled in this outfit, she has her bangs and then she has the two pieces kind of framing her face and then she has pigtails. And because of the way that the drawing is very flowy and the hair is like poofy and kind of just floating, it makes no logical sense, but we'll just roll with it. Her pigtails and the two pieces of hair that were framing her face, they kind of were merging together, and I feel like I had a hard time making them look like they were two separate chunks of hair. The one on the left I still think can be defined a little bit more, but I think I did a fairly good job with the one on the right. I think that for those ones you can tell that there's a pigtail. I think it's so interesting to see how these three drawings have changed from one another because I don't think the proportions are fairly different aside from the anime titties. I think that the proportions to the first one is fairly like similar, but then in the second one, as you will see, I had a really big head, I drew really big eyes, and things were a lot more different, so it's really interesting just to see how things kind of come back around. In this first drawing, in the background, I just colored the whole thing red, and then in the second drawing, I did nothing. She's just in a white void. I didn't want to color the whole background red because that'd be a waste of ink, but also I didn't want to leave it blank, and so instead I added this red stripe in the background with a thinner stripe on top of it, and I think that makes it a little bit more interesting. I didn't color it right up against Lucy just to keep a white border and make her stand out a little bit more, but I really like it. I think that this is a wonderful third iteration. Let me know if I should make a fourth one next year. I had so much fun redrawing these three things. I cannot wait to continue this series. Let me know what you guys think of them, if you have a favorite out of these three. I think my favorite is the Lucy one, just because of the emotional attachment I have to this drawing, but let me know what you guys think. I definitely like all three of them. I've always liked redrawing old art ever since I was little, just because I think it's a really great way to kind of track your progress. I can definitely recommend it if you don't. And if you are new here, consider subscribing. I post new videos every single Wednesday. I'll post random videos whenever I can. I just make a lot of fun art on here, or at least I think it's fun. That's what I've been told. And you can follow me on social media if you're interested in seeing more of me. They will be on screen now and linked in the description box below. Following me on Instagram is the best place to follow me. That's where I'm going to be posting these finished illustrations and any other drawings that I make. And there will also be videos on screen now and linked in the iCard for you to check out if you want. Again, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.